Hello, my name is John St. John, and I've had what you would say an interesting life. A life that's a mixture between Forrest Gump and David Icke. And part of that life was being a chauffeur to the world's elite, or as I would put it, so-called elite. I've driven movie stars, rock stars, politicians, ambassadors, company CEOs, pharmaceutical companies, delegations, prime ministers, and even royalty. And I'd like to tell you a little bit of what I've seen throughout my life and try and help you understand the bigger picture. Because to me this issue of smart meters is a lot more important than just having a machine on the side of your house. This to me is a test. It's a test for all of us. We've come to the position where it's like the line in the sand. Do we allow the politicians and the governments and the so-called utility companies to pass that line in the sand and take away our fundamental human rights, our freedom of choice, and the rights to protect our home, our children, and our children's future? Throughout my years working with politicians and the world's elite, I realised that they're not exactly as they appear to be. I can epitomise this more as a Jekyll and Hyde scenario, where once the media and the camera had stopped rolling, it was as if a switch would literally click. And these people, which even I thought were nice, sincere, and fundamentally good, turned into monsters that actually had no compassion and no care for you, me, or the rest of the world, including the planet. Part of this thing that I found out was a lot of stuff that the public never see. Because when people are at ease, had a few drinks, relaxed, talking at the back of a limousine, a lot of issues come out. They talk about stuff that they usually wouldn't speak of when the public's around. They forget that I'm a driver. The fact that the driver becomes invisible after 3 minutes or 3 hours or whatever. The limousine being a large vehicle, there's a divider behind me, which is usually made of compressed cardboard. I'm probably giving away some trade secrets now. This compressed cardboard is covered with leather, and they close it up and they think they're on their own. These are large cars, they're sitting quite away from each other, there's music playing, so they have to talk fairly loud. And throughout the 10 years that I drove these people pretty well on a daily basis, I heard stories that would basically turn your hair white. And these came from people that are household names. I entered into a world that I couldn't believe. And believe me, it's a world you don't want to go into. For some reason, God, or whatever the forces be out there, put me into a position where angels fear to tread. And I used to literally cry in my wife's arms some night and wonder, why am I there, up to my neck in sex, drugs and rock and roll? A lot of people would have given their right arm to be in my position. But I was a fairly sober and honest guy, family man with 4 children. I didn't drink, I didn't smoke, and I didn't party. But here I was, surrounded by this opulence of society and witnessing events and situations that most could only ever dream about. I found out that the hypocrisy of the elite was unbelievable. Everything we are told not to do, they do. And everything we do, they don't do. It's like you spend your life looking after your children, bringing them up correctly, teaching them right from wrong, good and bad, and morals, and accountability. Then the elite come along and completely throw the entire lot out of the window. So what I want to suggest is that before you go ahead and have a smart meter on your home, take a little bit of time and do the research. Find out from people, what's it about? What's the real story? Why is there a panic to have these things fitted by December of 2012? Why was there no public consultation? What's the full story about smart meters, besides the health issues and the privacy issues and the expense I mean, we're in a recession, and there we are spending $1 billion on smart meters when the hydro company has already just purchased hundreds of thousands of digital meters. It doesn't add up. And I, for one, have witnessed and seen enough to know that the government doesn't do anything without feathering their own nest or looking after themselves. What's in it for them? So I've asked you to take a second look at having these smart meters installed on your home. And if you have them, see about getting them taken off. Because I can assure you that there's something far more sinister than just an electricity meter going on here. The fact that we've not been given the opportunity to opt out, like Quebec has now got, and also the UK have now gone to this because they've been involved in so many lawsuits. Also, we're lucky because we're not the original guinea pigs. You've got Ontario, you've got California, where in California there's a $3.8 billion lawsuit. People are becoming ill, people are getting cancer, people are getting noises in their head and fatigue and palpitations. They're the guinea pigs. Our ministers who took an oath to serve and protect should be doing their utmost to find out what these issues are, what they mean, and how they can protect the public. We need to make these ministers more accountable. If they're prepared to put their job on the line or even be arrested and go to prison should these things work out ineffectively and make people sick and ill, then fair enough. But if they think they can do this and just run away as so many do, then that's totally and utterly wrong. My daughter and I actually went out and printed all the no smart meter signs and all the equivalent literature to put on people's houses to stop smart meters. We then went down the road that we live on, house by house, and people were willing to take them, and everybody seemed really encouraged about going against the smart meters. And we put the signs on the meters, and some were even caged. This was great. But what happened next may surprise you. When Corex came to fit the smart meters on our street, I walked out there proudly saying, oh, well, they don't want one, they don't want one. But what happened even surprised me. As the Corex guy went to the house and banged on the door, the people would open the door, sometimes only a matter of inches, and he would say, I've come to fit your smart meter. And their reply to that was, go ahead, there's nothing I can do. And then the Corex man took great pride in pulling off the pieces of paper and the no smart meter signs and even offered to give them me back. People just folded. Hello, my name is John St. John, and I've had what you would say an interesting life. A life that's a mixture between Forrest Gump and David Icke. And part of that life was being a chauffeur to the world's elite, or as I would put it, so-called elite. I've driven movie stars, rock stars, politicians, ambassadors, company CEOs, pharmaceutical companies, delegations, prime ministers, and even royalty. And I'd like to tell you a little bit of what I've seen throughout my life and try and help you understand the bigger picture. Because to me this issue of smart meters is a lot more important than just having a machine on the side of your house. This to me is a test. It's a test for all of us. We've come to the position where it's like the line in the sand. Do we allow the politicians and the governments and the so-called utility companies to pass that line in the sand and take away our fundamental human rights, our freedom of choice, and the rights to protect our home, our children, and our children's future? Throughout my years working with politicians and the world's elite, I realized that they're not exactly as they appear to be. I can epitomize this more as a Jekyll and Hyde scenario, where once the media and the camera had stopped rolling, it was as if a switch would literally click. And these people, which even I thought were nice, sincere, and fundamentally good turned into monsters that actually had no compassion and no care for you, me, or the rest of the world, including the planet. Part of this thing that I found out was a lot of stuff that the public never see. Because when people are at ease, had a few drinks, relaxed, talking at the back of a limousine, a lot of issues come out. They talk about stuff that they usually wouldn't speak of when the public's around. They forget that I'm a driver. The fact that the driver becomes invisible after 3 minutes or 3 hours or whatever. The limousine being a large vehicle, there's a divider behind me, which is usually made of compressed cardboard. I'm probably giving away some trade secrets now. This compressed cardboard is covered with leather, and they close it up and they think they're on their own. These are large cars, they're sitting quite away from each other. There's music playing, so they have to talk fairly loud. And throughout the 10 years that I drove these people pretty well on a daily basis, I heard stories that would basically turn your hair white. And these came from people that are household names. I entered into a world that I couldn't believe. And believe me, it's a world you don't want to go into. For some reason, God, or whatever the forces be out there, put me into a position where angels fear to tread. And I used to literally cry in my wife's arms some night and wonder, why am I there, up to my neck in sex, drugs and rock and roll? A lot of people would have given their right arm to be in my position. But I was a fairly sober and honest guy, family man with 4 children. I didn't drink, I didn't smoke, and I didn't party. But here I was, surrounded by this opulence of society and witnessing events and situations that most could only ever dream about. I found out that the hypocrisy of the elite was unbelievable. Everything we're told not to do, they do. And everything we do, they don't do. It's like you spend your life looking after your children, bringing them up correctly, teaching them right from wrong, good and bad, and morals, and accountability. Then the elite come along and completely throw the entire lot out of the window. So what I want to suggest is that before you go ahead and have a smart meter on your home, take a little bit of time and do the research. Find out from people, what's it about? What's the real story? Why is there a panic to have these things fitted by December of 2012? Why was there no public consultation? What's the full story about smart meters, besides the health issues and the privacy issues and the expense? I mean, we're in a recession and there we are spending $1 billion on smart meters when the hydro company has already just purchased hundreds of thousands of digital meters. It doesn't add up. And I, for one, have witnessed and seen enough to know that the government doesn't do anything without feathering their own nest or looking after themselves. What's in it for them? So I've asked you to take a second look at having these smart meters installed on your home. And if you have them, see about getting them taken off. Because I can assure you that there's something far more sinister than just an electricity meter going on here. The fact that we've not been given the opportunity to opt out, like Quebec has now got, and also the UK have now gone to this because they've been involved in so many lawsuits. Also, we're lucky because we're not the original guinea pigs. You've got Ontario, you've got California, where in California there's a $3.8 billion lawsuit. People are becoming ill, people are getting cancer, people are getting noises in their head and fatigue and palpitations. They're the guinea pigs. Our ministers who took an oath to serve and protect should be doing their utmost to find out what these issues are, what they mean, and how they can protect the public. We need to make these ministers more accountable. If they're prepared to put their job on the line or even be arrested and go to prison should these things work out ineffectively and make people sick and ill, then fair enough. But if they think they can do this and just run away as so many do, then that's totally and utterly wrong. My daughter and I actually went out and printed all the no smart meter signs and all the equivalent literature to put on people's houses to stop smart meters. We then went down the road that we live on, the house by house, and people were willing to take them, and everybody seemed really encouraged about going against the smart meters. And we put the signs on the meters, and some were even caged. This was great. But what happened next may surprise you. When Corex came to fit the smart meters on our street, I walked out there proudly saying, oh, well, they don't want one, they don't want one. But what happened even surprised me. As the Corex guy went to the house and banged on the door, the people would open the door, sometimes only a matter of inches, and he would say, I've come to fit your smart meter. And their reply to that was, go ahead, there's nothing I can do. And then the Corex man took great pride in pulling off the pieces of paper and the no smart meter signs, and even offered to give them me back. People just folded. People collapse like a house of cards when confronted to the face of authority. And this isn't even some diplomat, this is just a guy in a work suit. And that's how the politicians and the elite work. They know that we are very intimidated by them. And they use their power and their money for their own agenda. I can tell you, after working for these people for 20 years in all, I have no respect for them. I would never be intimidated, even if the Queen herself came to see me. These people are not what they appear to be, and they do not have your best interests at heart. You are the real people. They are the illusion. Everything we do, we work hard, we build the roads, we build the hospitals, we work in them, we run the factories, we create the power, we grow the food. They would do nothing without us, and all their power and money would be worthless. The people that I drove were basically bred with a silver spoon in their mouth. They have no concept of how we live. They could never survive on minimum wage and bring up a family. They don't eat what we eat, they don't drink what we drink. They have their own clean food pushers. And I have spent a day driving around when some diplomat or VIP has come into Ottawa looking for Pacific fruits, Pacific wine, Pacific drinks, Pacific cigars. All these had to be in the car. They were also in the private jet they arrived in, and they were also in the hotel, the 5-star hotel they went to. 9 times out of 10 they didn't even touch what was in the car, even though it took me an whole day to acquire this produce and put it in there. But why should they care? They weren't paying my bill, you were. Everything I did for these people was sitting around and waiting for hours upon hours in cars with their engines running in case it was too hot or too cold, as the seasons are in Ottawa. Again, you are paying for it. People used to say to me, oh, look at all those cars running in Parliament Hill, all the CO2 and the gas and whatever's going into the environment. They don't stop and think that you're paying for that car and you're paying for that driver. The expense was frightening. I have sent bills into Ottawa for as much as $3,000 for 3 drivers sitting around for a day, where we were used 10 minutes during the day to take them somewhere. We weren't even allowed to go for lunch. We had to sit in the car, and I've had so many crook necks looking at the door, waiting to be called. I've got a cell phone on me, I've got a cell phone in the car, and I have a pager. But no, they couldn't take 15 minutes to call us in advance and dismiss us when they don't need us. We have to sit there, engines running, waiting for 8 hours, which you are paying for. If they had to pay for it themselves, they'd soon find a phone box and call us. They'd soon dismiss us. But money from taxpayers is nothing. I have seen people spend $20,000 on dinner for 4. Unbelievable? No. Not when some of the wine can cost $8,000 to $13,000 a bottle. These people have no concept of how we live. Even the bureaucrats, the fundamental department heads, when they go places, they won't stay in less than 5-star hotels. They won't drink wine unless it's over $150 a bottle. Nothing is too good for them. But is it feel good for us? We have to scrimp and scrape for every penny to make ends meet. Why? Where's the justice in that? And what do people get who put smart meters on their home? What does the government and the utility company say to these people who allow to put this invasion machine on the side of their homes? What reward do they give them? What thank you do they give them? A pat on the back? A discount on the hydro bill? No! They put the boot in one more time and increase the bill up to 500%. What kind of reward is that for your loyalty? Well, I can tell you I saw this on a daily basis, over and over again, for what I've witnessed throughout the day. This has to stop. But this is also an opportunity. For the last 15 years I've been trying to tell people about what I've seen and the abuse of power that I've witnessed. And no one would listen. But now things are changing. People are starting to sit up, take notice, wake up. People are asking me questions, coming to events and listening to me. I used to get 3 people and a dog, now I get 80 people. People are waking up. This movie itself is a sign of that. Whenever you're told what to do, or what we're going to do, or what's going to happen in the future, don't just take it as gospel. Take the time and find out for yourself. Do a bit of research. Google it. Ask your friends and neighbours. Watch movies like this. And people like me who come forward, the government call us whistleblowers. Oh, conspiracy theory. No, we're not conspiracy theory. We're conspiracy fact. And we're the few that's prepared to tell it as it is. We shouldn't be ostracised. We should be welcome. The media should be banging down my door to find out what I know. But no, the media also is bought and paid for. And I've witnessed this many, many times firsthand. I just want to tell you, I've been there, done that, got the t-shirt and wrote the book. This is my book. I'm also an author. It's called Working Class Hero. I'm not here to promote the book. I'm just to tell you that I've been there and I've seen this, and I can tell you that this smart meter issue is just the tip of the iceberg. If we allow this on our home, we are giving away our fundamental rights and freedoms. And from that day forth, beware, because that's what they're waiting for. All the years of driving these people, they've had an agenda. A lot of people don't believe it. Find out about Agenda 21. Don't get scared. Fear is what they want. You must not give in to fear. Things are waking up, and this is our time. They use words like smart meters to impress you. Smart meters, smartphones, smart appliances. If they call them murder meters or privacy evasion meters or surveillance meters, you wouldn't want them. They're very clever at what they do. They've had years of practice. So stop and take the time. Remember, even the word government implies that they are there to govern us. No, I'm sorry, this is wrong. We are the governors. We are their employers. They are our hired help. Why are we taking orders from the hired help telling us what we can and cannot have on our own homes, our castles, our privacy? No, the line is here, and this is one we must not cross. We're the ones that built this country, we're the ones that grow the food, we're the ones that should be in control. Once a politician told me that their party spent $1 million trying to find out how to get people not to vote. I thought, this is amazing, this is a joke, you're conning me. He said, no, why do you think there's so many adverts on television where people contradict each other and call each other names? Because they found that negative advertising works. It dissuades the public to vote. And that's exactly what they want. During my life, I've moved house 40 times over 2 continents, and I've worked in over 40 jobs, including 3 professions. But one of them was in a car plant, where I was a catering manager. And one day they had a strike meeting, and 10% of the workforce appeared at this meeting. Then they said, we want to go on strike, put up your hands. They all put up their hands. Oh, unanimous. But it wasn't unanimous. It was unanimous of 10% of the workforce. But to the people, we had a unanimous strike vote. And that's how they work. As far as voting concerns, they only want the party faithful to vote. That way they stay in power. I'm here to tell you, use that power to vote while you still can, before they make that illegal. Go out there and vote for the underdog. Vote for any party other than the big three. Because once these people are voted out, they will piss their pants, people, because they know nothing else. They're incapable of frying an egg or boiling water. They don't know what it's like to work for a living. We have the upper hand. So vote them out. And then once they're out, we give them an opportunity to come back and do it our way. And they will, because they know nothing else. So all I'm saying is, I'm here to tell you all, take back your power. And one other thing that I heard while I was driving these people around, there's a lot more out there that you don't know. And one is alternative technology. I heard people discuss how they suppress technology and engines and things for the oil trade and gasoline for years. Find out about John D. Rockefeller and how he brought in prohibition so he could sell gasoline. There's so much you don't know. Our history is totally different to what we are told. I have actually seen alternative technology working. I saw a machine 12 years ago that could run a home, and it was no bigger than 3 foot by 3 foot by 18 inches. And I saw it working. The man wanted investment, and I got some people together. When we went round to his hotel, he disappeared. We've never seen him since. He disappeared off the face of the earth. And that's happened to so many people. We cannot allow this to happen. We've got to take control. We've got to take the reins of our own life and our own future. Anyway, thank you so much. Say no to smart meters, because this is the tip of the iceberg. Once they know that we're back in control, we'll take back to this planet, because this is a great time to be alive, folks. We are the people this planet's been waiting for, and our future is rosy from this day forward. Thank you. That's just a few of the people that I've driven to show you that I am what I say I am.